With Herbig showing out the way he is, should you be looking to trade Highsmith next year, potentially getting a second for him? Now, I like how you prefaced it by saying next year. I think that is something that could be discussed, man, because when we're talking about Highsmith and we're talking about Herbig, with both of those guys in particular, we know with Highsmith, proven guy, right? 14 and a half sacks already to his 14 and a half sacks in one singular season, which is a ton of sacks when you're just talking about from a single season standpoint. But then when you look at his full body of work, he's put together multiple seasons where he's, produced over 6, over 7 sacks. That's a high quality amount, man. That's good, consistent production from your outside linebacker number 2. But the part that doesn't get talked about enough is what he brings in the run game as well from a run support standpoint. I mean, this is a guy that, like I said, plays the run at a high level and he's productive there as well. So I like the fact that you started off by saying next year, because I know that was part of the conversation at times, man. This year is like, yo, if Herbig is all of these things and it's all the excitement that you're kind of saying it is, should we go ahead and move on from Highsmith? So I do like the fact that we're talking about it being a next year thing, because me personally, I'm not ready to turn the keys over to Herbig over Highsmith just yet. So let's talk about it a little bit more. The reason being, the reason why I think it's interesting for a next year conversation is this. If we see Herbig come out here this year and he gets, 6, 7 sacks in a reserved or third edge rusher role, then yeah, we feel a lot more confident about the projection of if we were to give him, more snap counts, give him more opportunities. So we would have more information. And I think that would simplify the thought process of, man, moving on from a Highsmith and trying to gain assets for him without creating a very big hole, because we'd have already had a chance to see Herbig, at least in some semblance, show that he could produce at the same caliber level as a Highsmith. Now, the other part is this, man. If somebody were to get hurt this year and Herbig was to have to play a lot more, then that changes everything, because now we really get a chance to evaluate him and see, was the preseason you just taking advantage of some matchups, or is that truly an indicator of what you're going to be going forward throughout your career? We won't know that until we get a chance to, see Herbig in the regular season. And that's always the gift and the curse about the preseason. I think that's also why a lot of us go back and forth as it pertains to the preseason in terms of how much stock we put in it and the validity of what we're seeing, because it's small in the sense of the sample size. Whether we're talking about the competition level, right? Because we know some teams don't even play their starters. Others will play them, but they're playing them for a condensed amount of time. Then you look at the amount of time that the player is actually out there on the field, and it's kind of like, dang, man, like I like it, but it was only 3 quarters, or it was only 3 series. It was only 2 quarters. And when we're just talking about the projection of seeing something in a 2 series or a quarter sample size, and then trying to say that, yeah, that right there is going to take place in the regular season on that same level, I think we have to be a little bit cautious about that from my perspective. So that's why for me, I say, man, after we see this year, if Herbig, like I said, is in that 6, 7 sack range or greater, then yeah, I think all of those conversations become legitimate in the sense of, could you move on from a Highsmith to get assets while allowing Herbig to take that next step forward? But until I see that, I'm pumping the brakes on trading or on trade talks with my dog, young Highsmith, all right? But I like your energy, man. I like how we starting this thing off today, baby. Shout out. Let's get it, Julian Hernandez.